Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we are on for our first live of the year. 2026 is upon us. Welcome to a new show on the Black and White United channel. I'm your host, Andreas. This is the Social Club, and I am joined by my co-host for this show for the season. And it's not just for the season, it's from January all the way through till December. Nathan Hopper from the Hopper Bros BBQ. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Nah, thanks for having me, mate. It's been a long few months. It's been good. Been keen to get back into it. So I think when did you float this idea? Back in October? Maybe early November?
I think it was the end of October, early November. Yeah. I thought about it and I thought, this would be pretty good to, get you on and probably just like go through a bit of a different angle of things, more of a laid back sort of social club vibe, hence the name of the channel. But yeah, it's something that I've personally been looking forward to now for, pretty much, since the season finished when we spoke about it properly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been keen.
I went straight away. Pardon?
Nah, I'm glad it's finally here. It'd be good.
Yeah, and the good, like, it was funny because we floated the idea and stuff, and then straight away we're getting like all graphics and everything done. I'm getting all stuff worked out, working everything, and then there was just like this Christmas period where it was just so like we need something to happen sort of thing. And finally it's here. We've got things coming up pretty good. But what I'll do is just so the fans can, and the subscribers and everybody who watches the channel, just sort of get a little bit of a rundown about yourself.
Sure.
So tell me quickly, how did you become a Collingwood supporter? Were you brainwashed at birth like the most of us, or?
Yeah, so I'm Nathan. I run a barbecue page on Instagram called Hopper Bros BBQ. We're also on YouTube. So I think this answer might be a bit controversial. Hopefully people don't turn it off, but I was actually born a Sydney supporter.
Oh, okay. It could have been worse. You could have said Carlton. So it's
fine. No, I know a lot of people don't like Sydney. So cut a long story short, my grandpa used to be the trainer for South Melbourne and Sydney in the 80s and 90s.
Nice. Yeah.
So everyone was just a Sydney supporter coming in, and then my dad, he migrated from England, so he was a Collingwood supporter. So he was basically told, who do you barrack for when he come out? He said Manchester United. They said that's not an answer. It's Collingwood or you get bashed. So he was a Collingwood supporter. And one night at the dinner table, I felt sorry for him, and I changed when I was 7. So it's
Well, you made the right choice. You made the right choice, and the fact that you got
2001 or 2002. So
very nice, very nice.
Good.
Well, just quickly before we move into the surprise that we've got for everybody on, and first of all, thank you so much for everyone for joining in. And Ben Zero automatically gives the first donation to the show, and also to the channel, $5. So hey, Andreas, looking forward to the big and hopefully exciting year for the Mighty Pies. Look, we'll get into all that type of stuff pretty shortly. Now, I did have one topic on the agenda before we get to our surprise for everybody who's watching. But the one thing that I did want to talk about is like our sort of like the injuries that have hit us in our preseason already. We've had Isaac Quainer, who had hamstring soreness. We had obviously Darcy Moore calf, Jeremy Howe calf. I think there was another one too. I can't remember if you can. I said a bit of a mind blank here. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up with you is it sort of died off a little bit now over the last few days. But when this stuff sort of came out last week, SEN, Kane Corns was just all over us. I mean, it was January 15th when like it really sort of hit its peak. We're at the 26th of January now. Happy Australia Day to everybody. It's sort of died down a little bit 11 days on. What was your thoughts on when you started seeing all this stuff?
Oh, I just thought, no, I wasn't too stressed. It's just usual suspects. One soft tissue injury for a bloke who's 30 or above. It's just it was just always going to blow up. And when I don't know if it was Andy Maguire who sort of first tweeted it, and then I saw Kane Corns on SEN, and then that's the other one, Mixed Day,
Mixed Day, there. Thanks, Cam. Cheers, buddy.
And when SEN gets a hold of it, and all the other Facebook, Instagram pages, they go on about it. I wasn't stressed. It's minor. This what's this still? What 6-7 weeks till opening round? They're due. The 3 blokes are due to play in the first practice match in a month. So
Yeah,
Not
yeah, definitely. And that's one thing, and I'll be doing a video on that too, just like sort of not previewing it, but just sort of having a bit of a chit chat about sort of our match sim against GWS, and obviously leading into North up in Ballarat, which I'm pretty sure I am going to, which is very exciting. Look, for everybody who's watching, there's going to be a segment on this show which I honestly can't wait for. We are going to have a special guest on the show. The special guest is going to be in our VIP room here at the Social Club, and I am going to introduce the first special guest for which I'm so happy that we were able to land him on the show. I'm not going to give it away who it is, but we're going to introduce him in a split second. Let's go. There he is. There he is.
G'day, boys.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our wheelchair premiership captain, Ben Yankowski. Thank you so much for jumping on the channel and this show with us today. It's a privilege to obviously have you on here. As you can see, we're mad Collingwood nuffies like yourself. You've obviously taken that to the next level and become a premiership captain at the football club, and obviously you have a role within the football club. So tell us about it, mate. Tell us about the wheelchair program at the Collingwood Football Club, because we are pretty successful in this program.
Yeah, it's come a long way. Thanks, boys, for having me once again. First episode, wow, it's a huge honor. I'm a massive fan of the show, so this is very humbling for me to be on here. So yeah, the wheelchair program for Collingwood started out in 2018 when the Victorian Wheelchair League was first established. From my understanding, Collingwood was the first club to put their hand up to join the league, which is really exciting. I joined the program at the end of 2019. I met the wheelchair team at the Copeland, and I was only probably a year and a half off my spinal cord injury, which left me a quadriplegic. So a lot of the teammates in the Collingwood team had a spinal cord injury like myself, and I was pushed heavily by my family and my partner to give it a shot and everything like that. So I joined the team in 2020, but obviously due to COVID and lockdowns, things like that, the first year of my career I only played about 5 or 6 games, but we somehow ended up in the grand final against the Bombers that year, and the captain at the time, Brendan Stroud, unfortunately passed away the night before the grand final, which was a crazy sort of 24 hours. But the guys and the girls in the group, we decided to play on the Sunday, and yeah, we knocked off the Bombers somehow. Still to this day, I don't know how we did it, because he was one of our most influential players all year. But yeah, I was sort of thrown into the deep end from the get go. I was always told that I had leadership qualities and things like that. So we've done excellent to this day. We had the community division join the wheelchair league. I think in 2022, which was a great inclusion. This allows players that are new to the sport that can come in and sort of have a bit more growth into the sport, not just thrown straight into the deep end against the more higher quality players. So that's been fantastic. We had our community team win the grand final in 2024, which was awesome. And the seniors got close to 2024 as well. So we've been right up there. We're chasing that next premiership. The championship team is what they're called now. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but it's been great.
One of my mates is actually he suffered a pretty horrific work accident, and he went into the Collingwood wheelchair community division group. Michael Talbot, I think, actually one of the best and fairest there. So shout out to him. I'm sure he'll be watching.
Oh, absolutely.
But I went to school with him and obviously grew up with him, and just to see the work though that's put in even at the entry level. So can you just give us a quick rundown of like the sort of the training and stuff like that you have to do? Because you would think that like from an outsider point of view looking in, geez, you'd have some pretty like strong core upper body strength, being able to, and your shoulders and stuff like that as well, being able to maneuver and doing everything that you do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Every person in our team has have a different disability. So for someone like Michael, who's a single leg amputee, he does have all of that core function right down. Whereas with me, uh, I'm paralyzed from my chest down, so my core function is almost non-existent. I have to wear a strap to help me in the chair, and there's just different ways, and all of that comes with training. With new players that do come in, it's all about learning how to operate the chair first. It is interesting when people hear that, because you think, oh, you're playing footy. Why isn't it always about the football? The football can come later. You first need to realize that in order to move, you're using the same thing that you use to operate the football. You've got to also move with as well. So there's that consistency of learning that to get somewhere, you got to get yourself there with your hands first before worrying about the football. Positioning and your share skills are so crucial in getting better at the sport.
And how long did that take you to get used to? In particular, you said you came in, like you started in 2020, you played 5 games. Obviously, the whole COVID schmozzle sort of thing happened. How long did it take you to sort of get into the groove of things?
It took me, I would say, 2 full seasons, and then you add the 2 pre-seasons on top of that to really get my confidence as a player and understand, how I can compete and how I can actually contribute to my team. And you just got to work hard. Just like with anything, it is a cliche thing to say, but the more you do something, the more you put your mind to it, and the harder you try, you'll get there eventually. It's a slow progress. Like, it's not something that happens overnight. I've been lucky to play, I'm not even sure how many seasons now. I think 6 or 7 seasons to this stage. And it's been amazing. Every day I'm learning something new, and I'm constantly trying to get better throughout training and on game day as well.
Yeah, nice. And tell us just a little bit about your role at the Collingwood Footy Club.
Yeah, so I work in the community department at the Collingwood Football Club, and my role is the community programs officer. So part of my role is to manage our community requests. We have lots of requests that come through from our amazing Magpie Army, and other people from different organisations that want to connect with the club. And as part of my role to help facilitate those requests as best as I can. I help manage our community donations that we give out, our training visits, our video messages that we get the players to film and send out to various members and supporters. I was involved, I'm not sure if you guys saw, we had our annual Magpie Nest Christmas Day lunch on Christmas Day, where we fed over 600 people that are living with disadvantage. So I helped organise that, which was really fun. It's just a whole lot of programs and parts in the community in our foundation that I'm a part of. So
and the
my
Magpie
role,
Nest, the Magpie Nest, that's through in conjunction with the Salvation Army. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. So we've put that on for a number of years now, which has been great. So the Christmas that's just passed was the first time that I was really hands-on with the event in the planning and organising, which is great.
Fantastic. Now, your support for the main playing group for our men's side, it goes back a fair bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You weren't a Sydney supporter like Nathan previously.
No, I wasn't a Sydney supporter. I'm very thankful that both my mum and dad were both diehard Collingwood supporters. There's photos of me as a little kid kicking the footy. There's photos of me at the Collingwood Brisbane grand final at the parade when I was a little kid mucking around. So yeah, I've always bled black and white, which is even more of a blessing that I'm here doing what I can today.
Yeah, nice. So with your predictions for 2026, before we get to any sort of predictions for the upcoming season, was there a highlight last season? Was there a moment in time last season that you thought were actually, like pushing the right way? There was a moment that you thought the direction we were heading, we were going to go deep into September?
Look, I know it was late in our season, but something sticks with me when I go back and watch that first Adelaide final, because I feel like for me, the way that we were going, there were so many questions around now what our best could look like, and players were thrown in different positions, and questions were being asked of our boys. But the fact that they were able to go there after just falling short a few weeks prior to the Crows and getting such a massive win against such an amazing crowd at Adelaide Oval, I think for me that was something I'll never forget, and that was a massive highlight of 2026 for me.
2025, yeah.
Oh yeah, 2025.
2020,
Apologies, I'm thinking too far ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it. Nathan, do you have anything for
Yeah.
Ben before we move on?
At the end of each season, is it similar to the AFLW and the AFL men's with like trades, draft night, like scouts and how they get other talent?
Yeah, so in previous years we have had a trade period. They've tried to sort of steer away from that as much because there's not a whole lot of players that like a massive flux of players that are coming through each year. We try and get as many players to join each year, whereas now it's a sort of thing, but just between the clubs to sort of go, right, if we have one player who wishes to play for another club, the team managers will discuss and see if there's a way to get them across. It doesn't always have to be a trade, but if both clubs are happy and they're communicating to both parties, then yeah, players can choose to either step away or play for a different club.
Yep. Sorry if I missed it, but did you choose to train with Collingwood, or do you get asked? How does it like?
I got lucky. When I started, we did have a draft period. There was there was a draft, and because I was a Collingwood supporter, Collingwood did take that into account as well. So I was very lucky in that regard to get picked up straight away.
It's every kid's dream to play for Collingwood.
Yeah, absolutely. They made that one happen for me. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So moving into 2026, I mean, we've got, and even with the draft picks that we got at the end of the 2024 season, moving into 2025, I mean, there was a few there that, we thought that we're probably going to try and break through. And I think the biggest breakthrough player for our senior side, I think, obviously was Ned Long and the way that he performed throughout the year, picking him up mid-season, obviously. But I was really fascinated with the way that someone like a Rowan Steele sort of came into the side late and kept his spot and stuff. And you look at other players like, a Harry Demetia, a TJ, a Jacob Ryan, and we've spoken about this on the channel many times. I think TJ obviously had his injuries late. Jacob Ryan was riddled with injuries throughout the whole season. I think it was he had his leg or his knee or something towards the end. And then, obviously trying to, get consistency, not going further in the finals too with the VFL, I think was a bit of a blow with the boys not playing too much. Harry Demeter is the one that I thought, last season, he was the one that was going to probably break through. Look at the plays that we've got this season. And, I mean, I dedicated a whole video to him recently, but I'm looking at players like a Tyne Printable. I think he's one that's going to break into the season pretty quickly. From what you've seen, obviously being down at the club, being involved with the club, have you got any sort of, I'm not going to use the word inside knowledge, believe me, I'm not, but do you have a vibe on who you think is someone to watch out for and who's going to be the one that's going to break into the side as a young player that hasn't played a game yet?
Harry Demeter was right on my list last year. As I was watching, him playing the VFL, I really thought that he was so explosive and had so many assets that we would love to use. So I really think that he's one that can definitely step in and play a massive role into the team. Although he hasn't played a game yet, I think he's got so much that he wants to give. He looks so strong at training. His running carry is amazing. And another one's Will Parker as well. Got a stint of games late last year and just looked really comfortable. Like he didn't look like he hadn't played in a while. Like he would just fit so calmly in that back line, and every time he had the ball, he just looked so calm and so composed. So yeah, those two for me definitely stand out.
Nathan, what have you got? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm a big Will Parker man. Like he played in that Adelaide final, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did he play the first final?
Yeah, he did. Pretty sure.
Yeah, he did, yes. Yeah.
I agree. He's just calm. Just what he did with the ball was unreal. Like when the prelim teams come out, and he was when he got admitted, I felt sorry for the kid. Like, I thought he played well. But it's hard. Like Rowan Steele was good. It's just But I think Will Parker for me, I reckon he's the man for this year. I think he'll come in, play his role, and do what we need.
senior players, Ben, that we've got. Obviously, going back to what Nathan and I spoke about at the very start of the show with the whole media speculation about us falling off a cliff. We all know that Kane Corns was right on us, and on the 15th of January, the articles were sort of being posted around about how old we are and all that type of stuff. Our older boys that we've got in Pendles, Sidey, Howe, I'm not going to throw Crispy in there just yet, but out of those three, do you think the players like a DiMatteo, do you think the players like potentially Will Parker and maybe even a Harvey Harrison who's come back from an injury, do you think those players still have to buy their time and wait for these guys to really sort of finish off, or you reckon there's going to be a mad push to try and snatch one of their spots?
Yeah, it's a tough call because these players are so experienced and, they're just like coaches out on the field and on the track. But, we saw last year the opportunities do come. Unfortunately, injuries are almost inevitable. And if there is an instance where a guy is knocking on the door in the VFL with great performances and a player from that same position does go out and, said player comes in and plays terrifically, I can't see why these guys won't keep their spots if we are playing well and they are having a massive impact in the seniors. I can't see why they can't hold their spot. Like, these guys have had a few years in the system now, and they've had the luxury of training with these high elite level players like your Pendlebury, Sidebottom, and Howe. I think it's gonna it's always gonna be a tough call for the coaches, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and just on that too, you're within the four walls. Obviously, it's to an extent. You do work at the football club. You'd obviously see these guys walking around. You'd obviously, you've crossed paths with them and stuff like that. Just the aura that they would bring, I would imagine, just speaking to them or just being around them and stuff like that would be amazing.
It is amazing. But the thing I always tell people is they always say, like, oh, how are the players? What are the players like? Are they, do they have that aura? And the answer is they do, but they're great humans as well. They're great people. And I'm very lucky that I get to experience them when I have guests for our training visits. So it's part of my role to bring these people into the club, connect them with the players, and I get to see how these players interact with people that they don't know. A lot of the times they don't know their story, but their schedules are just flat out. After training, a lot of them have to head back inside and do treatment and physio and things like that. But the amount of time that they spend getting around the fans as much as they can, it's really, really special. And, sometimes you can tell that a player's not had a good day at training, or, they're just not feeling it today, but they still make sure that they get around all of our players and all of our guests that we have there. So they're great. Honestly, there's not one that I haven't had one bad experience with any of them. They're amazing. Not just players, but as people as well. They understand how important they are to the whole Magpie Army.
Nathan, you've got anything for Ben before we finish up and say goodbye to him?
Yeah, who do you your opinion also, like, how many any more players you think possible to debut next year?
I know Charlie West only played one game, but there could be room for him to jump back in at some stage. I forgot to mention Jack Buller as well. I think that's going to be a really exciting inclusion to our team. I haven't seen a lot of his highlights when he was playing at Sydney, but from my understanding, he's going to be a really key asset. Having another tool in the forward line to roam around and plunk those big marks, I think is going to be really crucial.
I did see a little bit of the news segment tonight on training. They were saying Ned Long was being interviewed in the Emirates function. I think it was for the races or the tennis or something like that. Sorry, tennis. I get confused between all the festivals and stuff after footy season, leading up to footy season. That's my whole calendar until we get to opening round. But they did interview him, and he said that that Jack Buller at training has been fantastic, and it's been really good to have him in the forward line. It adds a little bit something different. He's tackling, his overhead, sort of his aerial capability as well as on the ground, and we can see it. I mean, there's content creators out there. You know, you got Jen's Training Buzz, you got Curtis Sofo, who takes heaps of photos. Obviously, Swoop's the master of it all, and everybody gets, you know, all the vision and stuff like that from here, as well as whatever the club would post or the news. And, you know, we can see it, and it's good to see, you know, we've got that, because, you know, we haven't had, you know, we've got key forwards in McStay and Membry and Elliott and stuff, but I just feel as if we haven't really had that out and out forward since the Travis Cloak era, like just that big one. We've had guys that have been in the forward line that can play multiple sort of roles, but I think Bull is designated for the forward line, which is going to be really, really interesting. We've got about 40 something days left until opening round against St Kilda at the MCG. The last time we played St Kilda, Ben, was Marvel Stadium. Dacos has broken the shackles off Windhager. He's kicked a mad goal. I think it was in the third quarter off the top of my head, and sort of like set literally the roof off the stadium. It's at the MCG, so there's no roof, but I've just got a really good feeling about this game. I think we're going to get a really good opponent nice and early during the season. We finally get to play an opening round game at home. You'll be attending the opening round game?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. I think, yeah, like you mentioned, it's nice having an opening round game. I know it's not our home game, but playing at the GMCG's just as well call it a home game. And I'm sure the Magpie Army will be there in numbers to cheer the boys on.
Excellent. Ben, it's been fantastic to have you on. Thank you so much for obviously agreeing to come on and stuff. And I've been looking forward to this now for a while, and to have someone like you on our show is just absolutely awesome. So congratulations for everything that you've done for yourself at the Collingwood Football Club, and for your journey after your incident and stuff like that, and just to get an insight on the whole wheelchair aspect of footy is amazing, and also your role at the Collingwood Football Club. So on behalf of both of us, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
Not a problem, boys. Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
No
Thanks
worries.
for sharing your journey as well. Thanks.
Yeah,
no worries.
Go
Pies.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime on the channel, and I'll be sure to send you some memes and stuff like that on Instagram to keep your attention.
No problem.
Thanks. Done. See you, mate.
See ya.
All right. So that was amazing. Just to get the insight of obviously a total different perspective from the Collingwood Football Club. Obviously, we do have a men's side. We've got a VFL side. We've got a women's AFL team, a women's VFL team, and we've got two wheelchair teams. We did have a netball team, which obviously is no longer, but we've got all these sides here. We've also got the, I think it's the Reclink team as well. They play out of Victoria Park too. So, you know, the club is so broad in what we do. Obviously, all the focus and the main focus and the attention of the media and stuff like that is on the men's side, but it's really good to get a different sort of perspective on other things. Nathan, we spoke behind the scenes. I've done a video on my predicted top 10 this season.
Yep.
You've sent me yours.
Yep.
I'm going to chuck it on, and I've said this a million times to the viewers. I'm not big with stats and graphics and stuff like that. I have come a long way from my very first video. I've got little things happening and all that type of stuff, but we're going old school with this here. We're going straight to a Facebook message that you sent me. Yeah, this is how good and technical we are.
Yep.
That's your top. That's your top 10.
That's my top 10. Yep.
I'm going to grab mine up. I don't have mine on the screen, but I've done mine. I'm sure people don't need to know sort of everything else. There's a whole video on it and got absolutely slammed because of it, which was expected. Your top 4. I'm very interested. Can you give us a quick sort of 2-minute sort of spiel on your top on your top 4?
Brisbane first. I think they're the safest choice back to back. Who they brought into the off season. They're going to be strong again. Who they bring in? Oscar Allen, Sam Draper.
I think Draper's the big one there. I think Draper's the big one there.
But like who? Yeah, I don't think this whole Lockie Neal thing is going to affect them either. Like they're just there to play footy, win. They've done it twice now, and backs against the wall too. I think Sydney were favoured in 24. The Cats were favoured last year. So Brisbane, I think the safest bet to be top. Gold Coast will be up there. I think Jamaru will have a big year. Petrarca is massive for that midfield. I know he's
just on that too, just quickly. Just quickly on that. It's a mad point that you make there for he's massive for that midfield. I think it's going to help out players there. Like you can say Noah Anderson, Norris. I think it's going to make Tuke Miller even better.
Yeah.
I think it's just because he's a very contested one-on-one sort of type of player. I've got a feeling it is going to allow him, because so much focus is going to be on Anderson, so much focus is going to be on Petrarca. You're going to have a guy like Tuke Miller in there who is just going to run riot. And I've got them. I had them at number 3, so number 2 is pretty much spot on.
Yep. I think like Rowell and Anderson, they're weapons in their own right.
Rowell too, Jesus, yeah.
Imagine Petrarca helping. Like I wish we got track, but we didn't. You wanted to leave the Melbourne bubble, so fair enough. I think the Cats are another safe bet. They'll want to sort of bounce back from the grand final. They've still got some really good talent. They're gonna. I haven't really looked at their fixture, so I don't know if they've got sort of that really good run at GMHBA for the last 5 or 6 games of the year. Whether could be 3 out of 4 at home, I'm not sure. But the Cats are always there and about. It's do or die for Freo, I think. If it's not top 4, I think that's probably it. They've always sort of been around the mark. What did Gold Coast beat them in the first final last year? Again, I think Cox will be big for them. I don't know if he'll play many games, but he'll help the structure. He'll help Jackson. So that's. So
I'll just quickly touch on my top 4 that I had. So I had Hawthorn finishing first. I just think at home they're going to be extremely hard to beat, and they're just going to be one of those teams that I think they're going to ride all the momentum. Now, they've had a couple of years where they're transitioning, they're getting there, they've made a prelim. I can see them finishing 7th like you've got, but I just think at home when they've got the momentum and they've got that sort of that Hockball swagger about them, they're going to be extremely hard to defeat. The interesting one that you've got in there in the top 4, in my opinion, is Fremantle.
Yep.
So I had Freo in 9th.
Yeah.
And the only reason being is, and again, like Freo are going to be a hard team to beat, especially over there. I think they're one of the teams that they're not going to lose many games at home. Like, let's be real. But they are, when they shit the bed, when they get a little bit of pressure on them, I can see not just in games, but in games, but like momentum of the season, like blocks of the season. They'll have like a really crap few weeks, and then all of a sudden they become world beaters like they were against us, And they've got to find that consistency. So I do think that, for them, it's a massive year, and they've got that finals experience now too, which I think is going to be massive for them moving forward. Be interesting to see how Cox goes, because I do think he's third in line at Freo for the ruck. So you've got Adelaide in 5th, and I had them in 5th as well. So that's we're obviously feeling sort of the same. Do you think with Adelaide, though, it could potentially be the straight sets loss of the finals, which is going to give them a little bit of a bitter taste, sort of hangover moving into this season?
I'd like to think you say it about you can say that about a lot of clubs. Like Melbourne went, I know they won a flag in 21, but they went two sets of back to back.
They're still drunk on that flag. They're still hungover from that premiership. Yeah.
Yep. So I think Adelaide will bounce back. Their midfield depth isn't great. Dawson's a gun. I think Rankin's going to be hungry for his first month, so they could. If he plays how he does, he could help him get. I don't know who their first 4 are, but I've done this ladder without looking at fixtures. Who I think off last year, who was unlucky, who was thereabouts. But I think the Crows will be up there.
Number 6, you've got Sydney.
Yes.
You're obviously expecting a bit of a bounce back from them. You got that soft spot for them too.
No soft spot. Can't stand it.
just shits there. Yeah.
I think injuries killed Sydney last year. Gordon went down, and I think it was the first practice game. And then it was just the amount of injuries they copped throughout the season, key players. Kerno will help. Amadi and McDonald. Actually, I like Logan McDonald. I was hoping he'd come to Collingwood in one of those trade periods.
There was talk that he was going to come to Melbourne or come to.
He was mad Collingwood, so I was hoping we'd get him.
After
but he might be a decent backman for him now. But I think Swans will bounce back. There's still a lot of talent to the midfield. Grundy's still playing good footy. He's not as good as DC. I'll just throw that out there. Swans, Hawks. So I'll toss it up between Hawks top 4 and 7th. But between all that, there could be a draw anywhere from 2 to 6 points with how close the ladder was this year.
Yeah, I mean, and if there is an actual draw too, I mean that throws a massive spanner in the works for the entire season, pretty much. I had
Hawthorn losing Will Day hurts again.
Yeah.
Like Battle and not Battle, sorry, Barras. Like he's my age, he's 32 in May. He's not getting younger. It's all good for everyone to say about Collingwood getting old, so I'll throw a different player into that from another club getting old.
That's nice. That's refreshing.
Yeah, I think, I'll just start out with Hawthorn. I know there's a lot of young kids coming up. If they had got merit, they would, I think, flag favourite. But thank God they didn't. And so I just don't know where to see. I don't know where to see Hawthorn this year.
Yeah, I think just at home, as I said before, they're going to be really hard to beat if they've got the momentum. I do feel, though, that they could be one of the legitimate contenders that if they cop a few injuries to certain players, they're not going to have a lot to back it up. Yeah. I think they are heavily reliant on that midfield. I had us in 7th this season. And I've gone into it already, so I won't go too much because we could be here fucking for 3 hours talking about us. But I do think we're going to have a very similar season to 2025 in the sense of, once we find our feet towards the start of the season, that middle part of the season, I think we are going to dominate again. And I'd like to see us, though, however, just be a little bit more consistent in the back half. 2023, we sort of dropped off a little bit. We got smacked by Brisbane by 24 points at Marvel. We just beat Geelong by 8 points at the G. We've gone into the final series then. Same sort of thing in 2024. We lost 4 games in a row. I think it was we beat North Melbourne with that massive comeback, and then we lost 4 in a row.
Lost to the Bombers.
We lost to Gold Coast, lost to the Bombers. The Bombers game we should have won. We lost to Hawthorn. Got smashed by Hawthorn the day that Dacos smashed his knee. And then there was another one and Carlton. We lost, I think it was to Carlton.
It's all 23 or 25, sorry.
No, 2024, sorry.
24,
Yeah. And then Sydney. We lost to Sydney.
18 deliberate out of bounds in that last quarter.
Yeah, and then obviously over the mark when McStay had the ball.
Yeah.
There's all these little things there. If we had just win a couple of those ones there, then, it's the same sort of story the last couple of years. And then obviously in 2025, we have that whole, we beat Richmond by 36 points or whatever it was. Yeah, great. And then, we go back to the same sort of crap. There wasn't any sort of momentum building on after that. And I feel as if this season, it could be similar, but if we can just tidy up the end of the year leading into the finals, it's massive momentum. Now, I'll give you a pure example. In 2024, we finish 9th. Let's say for shits and giggles sake, for the argument, the wildcard round was there. We play Carlton the first week of the finals, in an elimination final at the MCG. And you look at the way they played against Brisbane in that first final in 24, they didn't score a goal to the third quarter. Yep. I'm not saying they would have done the same, but we had the really good win against Brisbane in the second last round of the season. We slapped Melbourne at the MCG, and then we would have gone into the finals with a really good. And the reason why I'm still talking about that is just because of the momentum. And I think momentum plays a massive thing. Now, with us, obviously in 25, we had that win against Melbourne towards right at the end of the season, and we're sort of gaining a little bit from it. And then obviously results fell away. Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, for example. But I just feel as if, we took that momentum into Adelaide because things were starting to click. Like we had that really good 10, 15-minute patch where we, pretty much beat Melbourne. And then we held off and stuff. I think it's going to be the same for us. So I can see us finishing in the top 4. I can see us finishing in the bottom half of the finals. It's just going to be one of those years where we just got to win the games that we need to win, and don't piss fart around. Just get the result. I'm happy to play shit half the season and still win the games, and then the momentum builds towards the end. I had Sydney in 8th. You've got us in 8th. You've got GWS in 9th. I had GWS 11th, actually. I reckon they're going to be the disappointment of the season. I reckon they're going to be the one that drops out towards the end. And then I had the Western Bulldogs in 6th, and you had them in 10th. In 10th, I've got St Kilda. I just think with the players that they have picked up, you're going to have to be thereabouts. You're going to have to be there somewhere or not.
I originally had Bulldogs 4, and then Fremantle. As I said, like all sort of from 3rd to 10, I reckon it's all going to be within 6 points. And then you want to, with those wins, you want to hope your percentage is high, just like what we learned in 2024, which didn't have the percentage when you get there.
Well, pretty much my top 10, your top 10, we have the same teams bar one. So you've got GWS in, I've got St Kilda in. The order's a little bit different, but the teams are there. So we're obviously in the same mindset and stuff like that. Moving forward, just a quick thing here I wanted to just quickly touch base with, and this is just a pointless fact. If wildcard round was around in 2025, the first final would have been between the Gold Coast Suns and Sydney Swans at People First Stadium. The way Sydney was playing.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sydney finished the year strong. Yeah.
And they beat Brisbane, and then they beat Freo, I think, too. So, and then you would have had an absolute blockbuster, a repeat of the elimination final from 2024, Hawthorn versus the Western Bulldogs. That would have been massive. That would have sold that. You would have got 100,000 at the MCG for that there too. So before we move on to the next part, your quick thoughts on wildcard round?
I'm all for it. I like it. I think you said it in one of your shows it was last year. There's eventually going to be a 20-team comp. You can't have 8 teams playing finals and 12 miss out. It has to be top 10. It has to be a top 10 and a bottom 10. I think it'll be the best format, and may as well try it out now before Tassie come in. And they'll want to bring a 20th team in quick because the buys won't work again, just like when Gold Coast come in.
Well, yeah. Well, I think they're planning by. I know it sounds a while away because we're in 2026 now, but I think they were planning on the talks that I heard that it was 2035 was it had to be done by then. And we've blinked and we've gone from 2016 to 2026. You know what I mean? So the seasons do go fairly quick. We're going to be entering the 3rd season after our premiership. That's how quick this has gone.
Yep.
And the flag did feel like it was yesterday for us.
Yep.
So
it's almost 3 years ago now.
Yeah. So we're approaching the 3rd year. So it's these things are going to happen pretty quickly. I probably I probably would have preferred, like, I'm all for it. At the end of the day, what do the kids say now? 6'7", 6'7", whatever it is. Like, you don't know. Like, it is what it is. Yes, no, who cares? I'm under the impression they probably should have waited until Tassie came in just to do it straight away. But made it public. We are going to do it. Like, so you've got 2 years of this system, of this format, which we've had since, I think, 99 or 2000 or whenever it is, the way this system is. This is the way it's going to be. In the 2028 season, when Tassie come in, we're going to a top 10. So then you've got time to, not that you need to plan more, not that you need to, but you've just got time to think of it, soak it in,
more time to get your head around it.
Yeah, and also, like, you've got time to discuss, like, with your club management, like your list preparations and like what you think. Like, we're not going to bottom out. We're going to try and get here. Who knows? So I don't know, there's all those little things. But at the end of the day, as you said, you were going to have a 20-team competition. You can't have 12 teams missing out on finals every year. I mean, if you're going to, if the fixture's compromised in itself the way that it is, and we can talk about that all we want, but I do think that they had to do it regardless, one way or another.
Nothing frustrates me more than the bye after the last game before the first final. So this is going to be 2 games of footy in that time. Hopefully we're not the wild card, but judging by most of our predictions, we might be.
I think we are. Like, realistically, I do think that Kane's probably taking it to the next level about our drop off and about our falling off the cliff, whatever it is. I still think our list is still good enough to contend for a flag. And I said this in my last video. Our best is top 2. Our worst is bottom 4. We've just got to find.
If we miss finals and wildcard, I think we've had 10 injuries and 6 kids have had to debut. It's the only thing I can think of is if why we've missed finals. Key injuries, kids have had to step up. Yeah, they're a bit too green.
Yeah, I think the biggest doomsday prophecy for us, or doomsday scenario, I should say, for us, is if we don't even make the wild card and we have a relatively good run with injuries. We haven't bled a lot of kids through. Yep. We've had the experience listed, regardless if you miss it by 0.1% or because of a draw or an after the siren kick or whatever it is. That makes absolute no justification to the situation. You have to have, if we're going to play our best side, we've got to be finishing in top 10. Like, these are just dead set. Like, absolute pass. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. In your situation that you just said, if we had to play an entire list of kids because everybody just got injured and we don't make a top 10, well, you get everyone back and then you try and pick up Ben King or a Zach Butters in your side, and you got a good draft pick. And your fixture for the next year is going to be, pretty sweet. It's going to be like a 21 season going into 22. Jump on the train and see what happens.
We'll still get the second hardest. They'll say, Collingwood Butters. They'll be good.
Yeah. Geelong win the flag. You got 7 games in a row at the Alphabet Stadium, pretty much.
Yep.
We have gone off the agenda a little bit, what we're going to discuss, but just quickly before we get into our last segment, before we finish up, I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on it's just like a rapid fire. I'm going to give it to you. Mm-hmm. Who's going to win our best and fairest in 2026?
I think Nick's always the fail safe, but he's going to win it. I'm going to go someone left field. I'm hoping Dan Houston has a good year. Hopefully top 3 in the Copeland, but I reckon Houston.
Yeah. I got Josh. I reckon Josh is the one who's going to. I mean, yes, Nick's going to win it.
Yep.
Darcy Cameron's going to be up there as well.
Yep.
I just think it's time for Josh, and I said this, and I think Mick said it in the Into the Woods podcast. Shout out to those to the boys too. That was an awesome pod that we did last week. It's time for players like Josh, IQ, McCreary. I know you can throw Houston in that too now.
Yep.
He's the key. He's the keys. It's your team. It's not Pendlebury's team. It's not Sidey's team. It's not Crispy's team.
No.
It's your team now. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to sort of, as fans, accept, but also as players, they need to take control of this something vicious, I would have thought. Leading goal kicker. Tell me who leading goal kicker is this season.
I think McStay. He'll really fire up. He'll have a fire burning in his belly. Not playing the finals. There's no my check. So I think McStay will fire up. He might, love for him to kick 40, 45 goals. I don't think he'll kick 50.
Yeah.
But that's not to say it'll be shared the load. I think Membry might kick 20. Jamie might kick another 30. He kicked 50, didn't he, this year or last year? So I think McStay for a leading goal kicker. But I'd love to see him bounce back to sort of that end of 2023, what he was doing in the finals.
Yeah, I think Jamie will still win it. But and I don't want him to, because if Jamie's going into the twilight of his career, he's got his last 2 seasons.
We're
You
struggling.
don't like where you're scraping the barrel if he's going to be doing your leading goal kicking and stuff like that now. But I do think it's going to happen because I just don't see. Like I see us scoring well, I see us winning games, but I do think it's going to be more of a shared load. I'd love to see someone like a McCreary or a Schultz, kick 30, 35 goals, something like that for the season, because that then. Players like that, it changes if a De Goey's in the forward line. He can try and snag 25, 30 goals for the season as well. You're going to share that load. But at the same time, I think goal kicking has been one of our biggest downfalls in the past couple of years. So
that 2018 swoop squad style would be nice.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 players kick 30 to 35 goals. That'd be nice. Yeah.
And I know we spoke about this with Ben, but just your first sort of debut player. I don't want to hear like a Will Hayes. I don't want to hear a Charlie West or anything like that.
Yep.
Someone that hasn't played a game.
Yep.
Who do you think's going to break into the side first?
I'm hoping it's Joel Cochran. Cochran, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's reading all. I think it's Jen's training buzz who you mentioned before. Just reading what she's saying, and like he's bulked up. He was probably very green and very slim to play last year. He was probably almost stiff not to play with the injury he did have. Reef and Howe went down. Then Bruzzy was down. So I think unless Cochran, he might have been injured too, actually. But I think.
Well, I think, just on that too.
Cochran's the man for me.
Just before we go any further in depth, there's a good point that you bring up then, where he didn't get that opportunity. Players like an Oleg Markov got his fair stint too, coming in. Obviously, that game where Bobby went out and he came straight, I think it was against North Melbourne, and then he was in and out a few times. I felt like McRae still went for the experienced side more than anything. Granted, Cochran had an arm injury sort of coming into the season and stuff like that. He got at the start of the year, so he was probably a little bit behind and stuff like that too. But I felt, and I think the Will Parker admission in the prelim final is probably the perfect example for that, textbook example. But I still felt Fly just wants to go the most experienced team more than anything. And Markov got his opportunities a little bit more, albeit being delisted, but he did get his opportunities. Same with Tom Mitchell going in the middle over Harry DiMatteo, when you probably could have put Harry in the middle, or even as a sub, you had that option there. But I would love to see Cochran. It'd be interesting if Cochran sort of got up over Reef.
And he's another forgotten man, Reef. Actually, yeah.
So it'd be interesting if you got him through. My one is it has to, and I've said this before. It's printable. I'm just looking at the way he's training. I'm a big fan.
Opening round or by Anzac Day?
Not opening round, but I do think by Anzac Day, we're gonna have to get to it. We're gonna get to a point realistically. Like I think what's around Anzac Day
round 8, maybe.
Round 8. Okay, so it's a bit further back because it's usually between rounds 5 and 7.
Used to be like round 5, round 6.
Yeah. So now it's round 8. So maybe that prediction's a little bit off too. Maybe you would say it would be
gather round, maybe
potentially. What's gather round? Round 5.
Gather round. Yeah.
So that'd be very interesting to see if something happens then. Round 4 is the Easter one. You'd think he'd go with an experienced side against the reigning premiers, because I've got a feeling that game is going to be a big eye-opener for us, regardless if we win or lose, to see where we're at. Obviously, Freo in round 5. Round 6, then you got Carlton with the G on Thursday night. That's a big occasion. Are you going to bring in a youngster in front of 100,000 people where it's like the derby? It's a big, it's a very heated rivalry. If you're good enough to play, you're good enough to play.
I think Kevin Sheedy's 10 games worth of experience if you debuted on Anzac Day.
Yeah. So and then after that we've got Anzac Day the week after. So it's pretty big. If we can get a youngster breaking into the side just before or around that, then
I'd love 2 youngsters to break in by then. I don't know if 2's been greedy, but I'd love to see 2. Just not even kids debuting. Whether it's Jacob Ryan gets another go or TJ gets a go. Yeah. Charlie West might get another game in there. Doesn't necessarily have to be.
I think the big one in this one here is if Ed Allen's going to hold his spot in. I think he's the one where
He's
he can.
He's looking big though. Like,
I mean, physique wise and height and just like he's an Adonis. Like he is just the perfect shaped
6'4",
AFL footballer, broad,
And
everything.
He might be a Ned Long. He might break out this year. We just don't know.
I mean, that's something that you want to see because that puts pressure on, the coaching pattern, the selection panel. That puts pressure on everybody there. I mean, we could talk about this for ages now, but let's get to our last part before we finish off the show. State of Origin.
Yep.
14th of Feb. State of Origin. Victoria, Western Australia versus Victoria. We're going to have, the side hasn't even been picked yet, and it's basically in, 3.5, 4 weeks, not even. And they haven't released the full teams yet. I would assume that the players and stuff would know who's playing for what. Okay, you'd think, because, you got to make plans during your preseason and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
They've got to have a training session together. They got to get them over there. Obviously, the clubs have to approve it regardless of anything. We've got Nick, who's been confirmed, which is a no-brainer in the Vic squad, and Darcy Cameron as the ruckman for Western Australia. I'm not even going to say arguably, because they are our two most important players at the football club. Yeah, we've got probably, in my opinion, the second best ruckman in the competition. I still think Gawn's just a little bit too good for everybody at the moment. But I think Darcy Cameron's number 2. And that's no disrespect for players like Tristan Sherry or Brodie Grundy had a fantastic season also. I just feel Darcy's got it over a lot of other ruckmen in the competition. And then you got Nick, who is, our future captain of the football club. He's the marquee player that is going to take us into the future. What's your opinion about them two playing? Like, it's nerves, good to see. Like, what's your whole vibe about the State of Origin?
I think they have every right to represent the state they grew up in. I don't think we can take it away from them. It'll be even better once that final siren goes. They're both walking off smiling and laughing. No injuries, nothing, no concerns. But you'd feel sick. Not even both of them, just if one of them went down with something serious. If one of them's got a little bit of calf tightness, you think they've got 2 or 3 weeks to get themselves right. But if we're talking, broken bones or, God forbid, ligaments, then you'd be filthy.
So on the Into the Woods podcast, we did speak about this a little bit, and I wanted to get your sort of opinion. When I was younger, and I was born late 80s, so I got to see a fair bit of the State of Origin in the 90s before they canned it. And when I spoke to Mick on the Into the Woods podcast, he said because of the inclusion of Adelaide, because of the inclusion of West Coast into the AFL, like the VFL turned into AFL, you had that state rivalry regardless. And I genuinely believe that, because every time we play against Port Adelaide, every time we play against Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast, the teams out in the West, especially if you go away, it becomes a state thing more than just your actual football club. But I would still love to see representative football. And you look at the State of Origin in the NRL. They probably take it to the next level because they consider the State of Origin just as big as the Premiership, which I think is that's not right. But I do think there is some sort of space for representative football that the AFL needs to tap into. Just an overall vibe. Are you excited for the State of Origin though? Are you excited to see something different?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see something different. I'll be honest, I've never really cared for it. I said I was born mid-90s. So probably when I was sort of getting into footy, 2001, 2002, there wasn't a State of Origin. So then they brought it. It was that last game where fans could attend before COVID. That
was because the bushfire. There was the bushfire
and I went into it with an open mind. I said, "Oh, footy's starting a week early. I'll watch it." It was actually fun.
It was a high-scoring game. Yeah. It was like the big. It was like the Big Bash. It was like the Big Bash equivalent of AFL. Like it was actually pretty cool. Yeah. And
I thought it's got potential. I think All Stars kicked like the first 6 or 7 goals, and I thought, geez, Vic are in trouble. And then Vic kicked the next day. Like it was exciting to watch. It was quick, high scoring. But I think this one will be a little bit more serious. playing for their states. I know they were, or Vic was All Stars, but WA, Vic. I'm keen to see how it goes.
I think because it's not, and this is no disrespect, and I'm going to be careful what I say here because obviously it is Australia Day too. So I think with the Aboriginal All-Star game, they stuffed that up by playing against the club. I think they played against Fremantle.
Yeah.
I think they should have made like a play them against a state,
New
not an
South
all,
Wales
and not an
yeah.
all, and not an all-stars team of like, another best under 22s of the AFL or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like it should have been something where the other team genuinely has the same, if not around about the same passion as what the Aboriginal All-Stars had.
Yep.
Because then all of a sudden it becomes you got the brothers, and then you've got these guys who have wanted to put on this Guernsey for pretty much their whole career, and the players have made it known that they want to represent their state if they had that. I think that would have been a lot better, and I think you probably
19-year-old kids just fighting for that spot, prove to list managers, see the selection committee, say, "Hey, look at me, I can do it." Yeah,
I think that's massive. Yeah, I think that's massive, and I think because of this State of Origin game, it's two states. It's not an all-stars team. It's not like Victoria versus the rest. I'm sick of seeing that. I'm sick of seeing the rest. Like there's enough kids. I know Victoria would win by 200 points, but there's enough kids coming out of academies in New South Wales. There's enough kids that are coming out of academies and players who were born in Queensland and stuff like that. They could almost form their own teams in their own right. Then obviously you've got Tassie, and there's a whole bunch of players that are from Tasmania, because Tasmania is probably, in my opinion, the third biggest football state in the country, right? And it's going to be massive when they come. You've got all these untapped markets for representative football, which you can grow. And I think that the need for it is there, but I just don't know in what format, because how it used to work back in the day is you'd have like Victoria versus South Australia, and you'd have Western Australia versus the Allies, and the two winners of those games would play each other the next year. So then let's say Victoria would play against Western Australia, and then it would work like that. So in all the State of Origins, you wouldn't necessarily get Australia, you wouldn't necessarily get Victoria versus South Australia every year, which I think is a little bit, you want to see us play against South Australia. It's the Queensland, New South Wales State of Origin for the NRL. It's our equivalent here. It'll be interesting. You obviously going to watch it from home?
I'll
watch to WA for a quick getaway or anything?
Nah, not going. Nah, I'll watch it. That'll go down. It's Valentine's Day, isn't it? But I'll watch that. So whoever wins, do you think they stay on next year to play another state, or
I think
do that?
I think it's daylight robbery if they don't introduce South Australia into it somehow.
Yeah,
you've got to have them in there. You've got to. They're the second biggest footy state in the country. Like there's no real. I mean, you've got your A-League teams. They're very big with their state league and the soccer side of things, but they don't really have anything. I mean, basketball they're pretty big at too, but footy's their thing. Whereas Victoria's got multiple sports, but like that are really big, but footy is the biggest here as well.
Yep.
And I think it's daylight robbery if you don't introduce it. I mean, I'd be happy if we weren't in it for a year.
Oh yeah.
As a state, and then you had Western Australia versus South Australia. I mean, that's something different too.
Let's just take Vic out of it for a year, just to put all this Vic biasness aside.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
should never be here.
Yeah, I'll gather our needs to stay. And that's well, before we finish up, I wanted to get your opinion, and because obviously we spoke about this on the phone the other day when we were talking about the show. We've both been to a gather round.
Yep.
Right? It's probably one of the best rounds of footy. We've nailed it. We copied it off Magic Round for the NRL. We've made it our own. And when I say we as the competition. And I would never sit there and give South Australia credit for much. But the two things is that the two things I love about it is Adelaide Oval is, in my opinion, the second best ground in the competition. I haven't been to the Optus Stadium in Perth yet, which I really want to go to, but I've been to Adelaide Oval before the redevelopment, and I've been to Adelaide Oval after the redevelopment.
Yep.
And I think it's safe to say it is just, it's like a community ground on absolute steroids. And it's just nice. Yeah. It's a boutique stadium, the hill, planes going over towards the airport. It's just amazing. I wouldn't give South Australia too much credit, but they've nailed Gather Round. And Adelaide is amazing. So I think that's here to stay. What do you got, Sean? Just before we go, he's just said this here. He goes, "Why is it just one game and two teams? They should do multiple games, so at least play every state once and preferably twice." I'd love to see that, but I don't think there's enough time in the season for it.
So 6 extra games almost.
Yeah. I think we struggle. I mean, we've got the buys there and stuff like that. I think if we were to have 20 teams in the competition now, you could probably make it happen because there wouldn't be no one team having a buy. But obviously with Tassie coming in, it's going to be virtually impossible.
The game's too physically demanding for it, though.
Yeah, I mean, you look at soccer, like, you know, I mean, you look at and shout out to Man United, what a win against Arsenal this morning. But you look at, like, you know, how many games they played. I think it was about 2 years ago. I know we're going off topic now, but it doesn't matter. I think it was about 2 years ago. Liverpool played, and I'm a Man United fan, so just to clarify, but Liverpool played a game in Europe, but then because they won the Champions League or something, they had to play in the European Super Cup, which is the champions of all different leagues around the world and stuff like that. Or it was the World Cup club, sorry. So basically it was a World Cup of the clubs that have won all the major titles around the world the year before. They go on for the tournament.
Liverpool playing someone in the Asian Cup, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like Chelsea played. Chelsea won it this season. And Liverpool had to play a game. They actually made the Super Cup final. The World Club Cup final. And their FA Cup tie was the day after. But their game in that final was somewhere in the middle of Shit Creek and Bumfuck, God knows where. And then they had to play against, I think it might have been against Aston Villa or Burnley or West Ham. It was one of the teams that wear the same colours as them three, yeah? And they went 1-0 up with the kids. They had all their kids playing and they went 1-0 up. And then my point being is they can do that and play in the Champions League and play in the Premier League and play in the League Cup and play in the FA Cup and play in other competitions that you qualify for. Yeah, their game's demanding as well, but ours is 10 times more demanding. And I just don't think – I think even putting the state of origin where they put it was because of how demanding even just the preseason is physically on the players. Because if you had a bye and then all these clubs had a bye, and then let's just say, you know, your team won the flag last year, Brisbane, for example, let's say Brisbane were full of half a Victorian side, right? Did Brisbane really get the bye that week?
Yeah.
So I think that's just sort of the perspective you've got to look at it. You got to look from there. Eli's just jumped in too. He's my moderator for the show here. Sorry, guys. I'm just and he's come back. He's like, that's correct, Andreas. It happened the following day. Good old FIFA Club World Cup. So shout out to Eli. He's my moderator on here. Make sure you guys are all keeping in line in the chat. Nathan, anything else to add before we finish up today?
Nah, it's been a great first episode. Good to catch up, talk. And it'll be a lot more lot more momentum getting into it come opening round. So
so we've got another show. Obviously, how we're going to work this so people know also is we're going to do it pretty much every 4 weeks, every month. We'll do a show on a Monday night. It just happened to fall on Australia Day, this one here, but I was like, stuff it, who cares? There's not really much footy stuff happening on Australia Day, so we'll definitely keep it going. But, you know, the show will talk about, obviously, Collingwood stuff, non-Collingwood stuff, things that are happening in the football landscape, big stories that we'll talk about and rah-rah. But it was awesome having you on. Big success, first show. I think we had about 35 people on at once.
Oh, I couldn't see how many.
Yeah. No. There was the little thing was flicking straight away. So I'm like, this is thing. Can Magpie Army, Mick Sacco, Ben's put this comment on there saying, great first show, can't wait to get into the season proper. And obviously we'll have much more to talk about going into the season proper. But this Malacca over here decided to say, sorry to break your enthusiasm, Andreas, but Carrick will be another Amram. I'm up here at the moment. We've beaten Man City. We've beaten Arsenal. We're pushing into the top 4. I've gone through 13 years of bullshit, and you just slam me back to reality. So anyway, that's just me. A bit of shits and gigs. To everybody who's joined tonight, thank you so much for watching the show. There's been heaps of spoken. A big thank you to Ben Yankowski from the Collingwood Football Club, from our wheelchair team, who's jumped on. If you didn't catch him and you came late, this will obviously be posted to YouTube after the stream finishes, probably about an hour or so after it sort of loads up and does its thing properly in full 4K HD for your TV screens or your phone. Nathan, thank you for joining. It's been awesome. We will see you guys in a month's time. This has been the Social Club on Black and White United. Take care, and as always, go the Pies.
Go Pies.
The moment